Famine is looming in Palestine's Gaza as Israel's food and aid blockade continues. Half of the enclave's population is experiencing catastrophic hunger, which has already claimed the lives of several children who starved to death. But can this disaster have consequences for future generations?
I'm very, very concerned that even if the famine in Gaza would end today or tomorrow, the consequences will be very big. Also for those who will not have any memories of the situation because they are so young or because they were not born yet.
Ongoing research on famines in other countries shows that health issues in childhood have consequences for victims later in their adulthood. Even if they return to normal nutrition levels after surviving a famine, they tend to face lifelong deprivation and have reduced height and intellectual capacity, compared to their peers who haven't suffered from malnourishment in childhood. However, the lasting impacts of famine are not just limited to those who have experienced it firsthand. Its shadow may taint generations to come. But how? The answer lies in epigenetics. Epigenetics explains how environmental factors can affect the way our genes work by activating or deactivating certain parts of the genome without altering our DNA sequences. These epigenetic changes can start long before we are born due to the external factors that our parents are exposed to.
We have studied the long-term consequences of the Dutch famine, which was a 6 months period of undernutrition during the last months of the Second World War in the Netherlands specifically. What we found is that babies who were born around that time, so who were exposed to the famine while they were still before they were born in their mother's womb. Later in life, they had increased rates of cardiovascular disease, they had increased rates of type 2 diabetes, but they also had more anxiety and depression. Their cognitive function was reduced.
Other studies further indicate that this epigenetic information can be passed down even to subsequent generations. For example, children of people who were in utero during the Great Chinese Famine of 1959 were also found to be more likely to suffer from obesity, poorer cognitive function, and hyperglycemia. Skyrocketing cases of diabetes among South Asians caused by the British-induced famine point to similar intergenerational health consequences of environmental shocks.
Several studies suggest that famines like these not only have consequences for people's individual health, but that it also affects mortality and lifespan. We've seen that in the Dutch famine as well. Mortality is increased. And people's ability to participate on the labor market is less, which has an impact on a nation's economy and well-being. So yes, I'm very concerned that this will have long-term consequences, not only for individuals, but for society as well.
Now, think about the more than 50,000 pregnant women in Gaza and the babies developing in their wombs. They are exposed to what some experts call the most intense famine of recent decades. The World Health Organization already warned of the intergenerational cycle of malnutrition, in which malnourished baby girls grow into smaller and less healthy mothers. In other words, the Israeli blockade is determining the fate of not only those currently living amid the horror of Tel Aviv's deadly onslaught, but also of an entire Palestinian generation that hasn't even been born yet.